Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. You might have called a customer service number recently and sat there listening to music on hold for several minutes. I know that was my experience the last time I called my bank. Many companies are now finding that they can improve the customer experience by using a callback system. This means that you never need to wait on hold because the company calls you as soon as an agent is ready to speak to you. One of the best known callback systems globally is Fonolo. I called their CEO and co-founder, Shai Berger, at his base in Toronto, Canada, to ask how such a simple change to the contact center can dramatically improve CX. Okay, let's go straight to the interview. Okay, I saw a blog recently that you wrote where you referred to some recent research that found almost 2/3 of American contact centers are now using callback systems. And there's a lot of other markets, such as the UK and Canada, that are at least half using these systems. Is this just a behavioral change? I mean, is nobody prepared to wait on hold anymore?
I think it's a combination of factors. That's a great way to phrase the question. Yes, people have lost patience. I think that loss of patience probably happened a long time ago. And more what's happening in recent years is that the ability to add that function to the call center has become easier. We've had the situation in the past where callbacks were something that call centers recognized they wanted and knew it would be advantageous to their callers, but found it cost prohibitive or technically impossible to do. So really what the change that's happened is that there are a lot of ways now to make that happen, to add that functionality in an easier way, lower cost than there were before. And I'd like to think that Fonolo and our product and our ability to do that for companies is a big part of that change.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it seems like a simple solution to a problem that's been around forever. So why has it taken so long to be accepted as normal? Is it really just that price point for the system then?
I think it's a symptom of a larger situation with the call center industry where for decades it was really dominated by a few large vendors that had kind of an ecosystem lock-in. Where there were proprietary systems, and so you became devoted to one vendor or another, and then once you were locked in, vendors used premium features like callbacks as a way to sort of extract more money from companies, and so a lot of companies were just priced out of that feature. It's something they would have wanted, but they couldn't do. To some extent, those anti-competitive trenches have been eliminated with all the new entrants in the market. To some extent, it is the result of the move to cloud, because cloud-based call centers inherently are just easier to update, and so features get rolled out more quickly. And the cloud also allowed third-party options, which is what we do at Fonolo, to enter the market, and so that provided another alternative for companies. So it's a combination of factors. Many companies went to just added callbacks by going to a third party like us, and we were able to do what we do because of the acceptance of cloud. And then that competitive pressure in turn caused the larger call centers, the larger vendors, to start offering it more easily. So all of those forces sort of came together to result in what we see today, which is, it's now becoming more frequent than not that a call center can offer a callback.
Okay, and I mean, obviously we're talking about mainly the time on hold for the customer, but are there any other metrics that it actually influences by doing this?
The main one is abandon rate, and so just to catch people up, in case there are people listening that aren't deeply steeped in call center metrics, abandonment, an abandoned call is when someone's on hold and then they hang up, so they've given up waiting. So abandon rate is what percentage of calls get on hold and then leave. And so this is a metric that call centers watch closely, especially if your call center is involved in sales, because then you really look at those abandoned calls as a lost sales opportunity, and you can really put a price tag on that. You can say, if X% of all my calls result in a sale and my average sale price is Y, then I can see that I'm losing money through these abandoned calls. So callbacks drastically reduce abandon rate because once somebody has opted in for a callback, they are no longer sitting on hold. They're no longer tied to the phone. They're just in that queue in a virtual sense, and they're going to take that call when it comes in. So they actually have to go out of their way to then abandon. They've got to, call in and remove themselves from the queue, or somehow, some other way, get themselves out. So abandon rate goes much, much lower once you have a callback solution in place. And callers are happy with that. They are not, nobody abandons the call without first being frustrated. The frustration precedes the abandonment. So when you're reducing abandon rate, you're not just improving that metric on its face, you're also reducing abandonment. You're also reducing frustration of your customers, and that obviously has downstream positive impacts.
And do you actually have examples then of how a simple change like this can actually affect sales?
We do. There are case studies you can find on our website, fonolo.com, and we talk about both reduction in abandon rate and improvement in customer satisfaction scores. And we also have some cases where that all has been tied back to an actual revenue lift. It's not always that you can get a company to be, open enough about their numbers, but on some occasions we have been able to share that. So I don't want to get too salesy during our interview, but you can definitely check out those stories on our site.
Okay, and then one thing that I was thinking about is people answering their phone. It's very common today for people to not answer if the contact's not on their contact list. So how do callbacks work in that kind of context?
Well, the call appears as if it's coming from the company you originally called. And we have a very high answer rate. This is one question people always ask us is what are the odds that people are going to answer when the callback happens? And the answer rate is very high. It's in the 90s. It's in the upper 90s percentage rate because people are expecting the call. They know that it's something they've asked for, and they recognize the number or the name. So the completion rate of the callback is very high. Another thing that raises the completion rate is if you supplement the call with text messages, which is something our system offers. So after you first opt in for a callback, you can get a text message saying, acknowledging that you've opted in and saying you're now in the queue and don't worry. And you can have a subsequent message saying, an update on your wait time, or just another message reassuring you that, we're sorry the wait is so long, but we haven't forgotten about you. And you can have another message saying you're next in line or your call is coming shortly. And all of that serves to sort of reinforce the relationship between the caller and the business and make sure that transaction goes smoothly.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please take a moment to review the podcast because this helps other listeners to find it. And if you have any suggestions, then get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm @Mark Hillary with 2 L's, or just search Google for Mark Hillary.